In the year 1950, journalist Edward Hunter coined the term brainwashing. This term was researched into Nazi Germany and criminal cases in the US. Now, in 2020, a new theory about brainwashing has been created. The theory that music producers use higher frequency and higher pitches to brainwash younger listeners to stream and listen to their music. Here are a few mini interviews from music producers that I've met throughout my experience and journey as a musician through social media. Enjoy. When you start to create a new project, which instrument do you work on first and why?
I think I work on the piano first because that's the thing you're going to hear. That's going to be the main tune. But if I would add something like a synthesizer or a guitar, I would probably start with the guitar or the one that you're going to hear the most.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, you always want to start with the one that you're going to hear the most.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense to start with the drums because you wouldn't even have a beat and it wouldn't fit.
It's sort of like if you put milk in the cereal first or the cereal in the bowl first when you make cereal. It's kind of like that. Like if you start with the drum beat first and then you add the piano, it's more like, oh, we're going to add piano to go with the drums instead of make the drums go with the piano and guitar. If that made sense. Or I'm just saying random things that don't make sense because it's possible. Out of all your tracks, what's your favorite track that you produce? Why is it your favorite? And what's the backstory behind that track?
Out of all my tracks, I would have to say that Walk Away is probably one of my favorites. That's the first that I actually was able to win a small reward with. Cool. As at our school, we do talent shows at the very end of the year. And I was actually able to win that talent show because of that song. And it's actually what actually started, because if I wasn't gonna do good, people didn't like that song, I was gonna completely quit music at that point. Mm-hmm. But people actually started liking the song. They actually started asking me about the song. So it's probably one of my favorites. It's really what kicked everything off. And then No More Pain, that's one of the first songs that I ever made.
Yeah.
I really actually like that song, but Walk Away is definitely a little bit higher than that song because it kicked off a lot for me.
It's fun that you guys did the talent show and you won.
Yeah.
How do you know what kind of vibe you want to create? This goes back to the question about when you start to create a new project, what instrument do you work on first? How do you know what the vibe you want to create is? Do you think of it beforehand or open up a project from scratch and then let all the creativity start from there?
Before I start a project, I always turn to my piano. I start playing with different keys. Finding which key would sound good, like would an A minor sound good with an F sharp, stuff like that. That's how I go ahead and find my vibe that I want. Do I want it more lower pitched? Do I want it more higher pitched? Or do I want it, in a G chord? It all depends on what my mood is at the time, because if you go right into a project and you don't think about it beforehand, that could really screw you up with what you're doing, because you're going to go into a project, you're going to start making a ton of tunes and stuff, but it's not going to match. So basically what I do is I go onto my piano, I play a couple chords. If I like the chords, then I'll put it down inside a piano roll, and then I'll add different instruments in the same chords, and then that kind of gives me the vibe that I want, and then I put it into a song.
Nice. Back in the day, whenever I just released piano ballads, most of the piano music that I came up with were just random things. I'm just oh, this sounds good in a song. Then I start from the random thing that I was playing and then, advance from there.
I have to go ahead and I have to jot it down that minute, or I'll play something really good and then not do it, and then later I was like, okay, I can just remember it later. And then I come back to it later and I cannot remember it at all.
I always used to not write it down thinking I would remember it. I think I would like remember some sort of variation, but not the exact thing that sounded good. It would always trigger me whenever that happened. And so I just started writing it down right whenever I have it, write it down in my notes and like on my phone and
Well,
and
now I just go ahead, have a plugin where I plug it into my, computer, and it jots down all the notes for me, so I don't have to do anything. Otherwise, I would forget, and then I'll be like, man, I really like that. I wanted to turn it into a song, and then I completely forget about it.
Do you use higher frequencies and pitches while producing beats to brainwash younger listeners to stream your music?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
My new song, Sharp, that's more of a, higher pitch at the beginning. Not only do I use a sharper pitch, but after the rise down, before the second lead, it uses a pan. So it pans back and forth between headphones, which actually can sharpen up the pitch just a little bit and actually can tune you into the song. So not only do I use sharper pitching, I also use panning, which also helps.
It's cool. Thanks, man, for hopping on.
See ya. Have a good one.
Man.
Hey, man. How you doing? Yeah.
Hey, man. What's up?
Yourself?
Doing pretty well.
Great. I'm excited to do this.
Good.
So, let's get into it.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you rapped a little bit before you got into actually producing beats. So what inspired you to enter the world of music, and when did it inspire you?
Yes, so a while ago I did start rapping. I really got inspired just by the people that I followed around me, a lot of more underground rappers that are actually quite big now, really inspired me, and I thought, why not? I'll give it a shot. I was around 16 at the time, and I just got into the music scene all because of that. Cool. So what's your process for producing a beat? Do you need any motivation to start producing one, or not? And if so, like, what's that motivation that you use? So how I normally start a new beat off is I normally look for inspiration. So I wouldn't say I necessarily need motivation, because I believe that motion creates motivation. You do something, and then if you're not inspired or whatever, you do something else, and then do something else, just until you actually feel motivated to do something. But I basically start with either picking a key, finding a particular sound that I like, or something just really something quite unique, and then building onto that particular idea. But I wouldn't necessarily say that I need motivation to start a beat, because it's my job right now. I make a living off making beats, so that's really my motivation. So I know you live stream beats, because I've joined a few of yours, and like you also review songs too, which you reviewed some of mine too, produced by you. Anyways, Cautious, on my album. Anyways, enough self-plugging. What's a pet peeve of yours when it comes to listening to other producers' beats? Yeah, so I review beats. I do on my live stories sometimes, on Instagram. I love, interacting with all my followers and everything. And I would say my main pet peeve is what people don't do, which is, concentrate on structure of the beat. Lots of people have great ideas, but don't know how to hook an artist onto the beat, because they just have it looping the whole time. They really need to make all the layers and then actually have them come in, come out and stuff like that. It's just a pet peeve that I have, because too many people neglect structure of a particular beat. So how I normally find motivation is waking up, getting myself ready and everything ready to start the day off. I have a proper list going of everything that I need to do for the day and try to get it all done. I love to interact with all my followers, and all the people that I follow, I get motivated by them because they do similar kind of music to me, or produce or write songs or whatever. So I would definitely say the people around me motivate me a lot with all their talents that they're sharing. But every day is different. Something could motivate me that I didn't think would ever motivate me, and other things otherwise. Like I could watch a YouTube video, just a tutorial, and feel motivated and inspired. But every day is different. One last question. Do you use high frequencies and pitches music to brainwash younger listeners to stream it? I wouldn't say that I do that personally. I feel like I don't focus my craft on, you know, likes and shares and stuff like that. Even though it is nice to get to a wider audience, I don't focus on the younger generation, you know, sharing my stuff. I normally look towards, you know, proper artists who are willing to either listen to my beats, purchase my beats, stuff like that. I really don't look for or focus on the younger generation as much, honestly.
So like,
that was a really interesting point that you bring that up, because I do feel like some producers and other stuff do focus on ways to manipulate the listener, so then they share it and stuff like that, just because they like that exposure, and any exposure is good exposure in some people's eyes. But I like to keep my stuff quite, you know, in its niche. I don't like branching out into other places where it doesn't need to be, really. But yeah, I hope that answers all your questions.
I see you.
Thank you.
No problem.
My G. Appreciate you having me on here.
See ya.
Appreciate that a lot. And yeah.
Later.
Good luck with it, man.
You heard from some producers that I've met throughout my career as a musician, that I've communicated with and connected with. Now you're probably wondering, what do I think about this theory? Me, Will Double S, the rapper from Plainfield, more like Trainfield, but Plainfield, think about this theory. I produced some music myself, and let me tell you, I just used the default setting of the frequency, hertz, everything whenever I produce my beats. So I don't really take much out of the whole, higher, lower frequency, higher pitches or lower pitches. There may be more higher pitches than lower pitches than higher frequency, lower frequency, but still. Now I realize it is important. I mean, first of all, if you use higher frequencies, older listeners don't hear it as well. My grandparents wouldn't be able to hear it as well if I share with them than younger listeners do, which most of my fans are younger listeners. What I believe is that this is a good strategy. And although it's not confirmed true that it does brainwash younger listeners, there is some factual evidence behind it, because older people can't hear those frequencies as well, like I mentioned with my grandparents, but younger listeners do. Plus, younger listeners are most likely to share the producer's music on their stories, on Instagram and Twitter, because they use social media more than older people do. And that's the main reason, the only reason why I think this could be a true thing. Music producers promoting their beats by reaching out to smaller independent artists may be a popular strategy for promotion in 2020, but brainwashing younger audiences to listen to the music is uncommon, but on the rise, and soon will be one of the best, most popular, successful promotion strategies for music producers in 2021.